We've said that firms hire labor to produce goods, but we can actually say more than that because of the assumption that firms are going to choose labor in order to maximize their profits. So first we need to define what the profits are. Well, the profits are going to be given by total revenue minus total cost. And what is their total revenue? Well, they produce this quantity of goods. And remember, they're producing consumption goods. So we're already in units of the numerator. And then how much does it cost them to produce that quantity of goods? Well, the wage times the number of hours of labor that they hire. So this is the definition of profits. And what the firms are going to do is they're going to hire labor up to the point where profits are at their maximum. Now, profits are going to be at their maximum when the difference between total revenues and total costs is the largest. We can see this in this graph. What we have plotted here is this is hours worked, and if you remember, both revenue and cost depend on the number of employees or hours worked. We can plot total revenue, and total revenue is just, as we said, Z times F, and that's just the production function. So this curve here is giving us total revenue. Total costs then are just going to be a linear function of the number of employee hours hired. And the slope of that is going to be the wage. So this red line then is total cost. So where is this maximized? Well, it's going to be maximized at a point like this. So we're looking for the level of hours that maximizes the difference between total revenue and total cost. And it's pretty straightforward to show that that maximum will occur where marginal revenue equals marginal cost. Now, what is marginal revenue? Well, that's just going to be marginal revenue. Where are we? Sometimes I lose where the pen is. Marginal revenue is going to be the change in total revenue over the change in hours worked. Marginal cost is going to be the change in total cost over hours worked. Well, now we can see that the change in total revenue over hours worked is just going to be the slope of this total revenue function, but that's also the slope of the production function. So marginal revenue then is just going to be the marginal product of labor. And what's marginal cost? Well, marginal cost is how much extra does it cost if you hire one more unit of labor? That's just going to be the wage. So that's the slope of this red line, and that's equal to that. So the standard rule for profit maximization is you hire N until marginal revenue equals marginal cost. And that will occur at this level of employment. Now, another way to see this is mathematically. For those of you who like to see the calculus behind what we've done, we can write profits as they're just Z F K star N minus WN. I'm dropping the little d superscript. So we take the derivative of profits with respect to N, and that's just going to be, well, that's the marginal product of labor minus the wage. Set that equal to 0, and you get this condition for maximizing profits. Marginal product equals the wage. But let's try to understand this condition a little better. Calculus is fine, but economics is something that will linger with you. So let's go through the economics of it. How do we get to that condition? Well, let's first stare at it for a second. What does it mean? Well, the left-hand side is telling you that if you increase labor input by 1 unit, output will rise by the marginal product of that unit. Well, then you can sell those goods, so marginal revenue is going to just be the additional output that you can produce from that additional unit of labor. And that's the left-hand side. What's on the right-hand side? To hire 1 more unit of labor, you have to pay them the wage. So the right-hand side is just going to be the marginal cost of 1 more unit of labor. Now, another way to kind of really confirm your understanding of this is to ask yourself, well, what happens if the wage is less than the marginal product? So we've said, well, that must mean that the firm's not maximizing profits, but let's try to understand that a little bit. Well, if the wage is less than the marginal product, then that implies that it's going to be profitable for the firm to hire more labor. Why? Well, because hiring 1 more unit of labor costs the wage, and that's less than how much they're going to get in revenue, which is the marginal product. So the firm will hire more labor, but now this is where the diminishing returns comes in. As the firm hires more labor, the marginal product will fall. So they will just hire labor up to the point where marginal product will end up equaling the marginal cost. And remember that the firm is competitive, so its choice of labor inputs has no effect on the wage. So the marginal cost to the firm is just a constant. It's just always equal to W. And what it can affect is the marginal revenue. So by adjusting its level of labor input, it can change what the marginal revenue is. And it'll do that in order to equate marginal revenue to the marginal cost.